Now, I feel like I should put a disclaimer that I don't really play a lot of adventure games, specifically the old-timey point-and-click and puzzles outside room escapes like the Cube Escape series or Dude Stop. But when the folks over at Flint's Arcade approached and I saw the art of the game itself, I was actually pretty hooked. Dexter Stardust, an interestingly quirky game set in space, filled with robots, odd settlements, and lots of tacos. Without giving much spoilers, you play as a guy named Dexter Stardust, together with your partner in crime, Aurora. The two of you work as a salesperson selling battery-powered hula girls and other nifty knickknacks. Though since this is a point-and-click adventure game, your main character needs to be silly enough to diverge from the norm. And I'm honestly amazed how the game acknowledges this.
They should be, but somebody always seems to complicate things.
I feel like that was directed at me.
Olvídalo.
The game currently is in its Season 1, where you have 5 episodes, and an episode 0 that acts as a prologue of sorts, and at the same time also acts like a lovely tutorial to the game's mechanic and quirks, followed by the 4 main stories. Each of the episodes takes about 15 to 30 minutes to do, depending on the difficulty. And when I say difficulty, I do mean it. The game does provide what kind of things you should expect on each episode with a neat bar, showing the length of the episode, how story-driven it is, and how hard the puzzle is. Though overall, and this is my own experience, I seem to be able to knock the game in about 3 hours or so. And with that, let's talk about how the game feels. As a guy that doesn't really play a lot of point-and-click adventure games, it's pretty solid. Everything is accessible and, to me at least, feels like a small flash games. This also helps by the fact that the packaging of the game feels like a Saturday morning cartoon. Everything is campy, doesn't really take itself that seriously, and the jokes hit pretty nicely. There's also the fact that each of the episode has its own title cards with titles like Delivery on Venus, Robot from Planet X, or my personal favorite, Mega Problema in the Bodega. Just love how that rhymes. And did I mention that each of the episodes start with a very awesome intro? The animations are fluid, considering it's made with traditional frame-by-frame animation, nothing rigged and drawn in 4K. The game does pull you into the world nicely, which again, does feel like a nifty flash game mixed in with a comfy Saturday morning cartoon.
Wait a second. Is that one of those computer-controlled trapdoors?
It is.
Cool. Is it one of those trapdoors in your throne that you open and you slide down into an underground lair?
No.
Is it one of those trap doors that opens up underneath someone without them knowing? They pause in the air, and their body does one of those cartoon stretch things as they fall to the bottom of the pit?
Yes.
Oh.
Who's next?
The puzzles themselves aren't too hard. You don't really get the moving logic you often get on the older point-and-click games. Most of the time. Oftentimes, the game does give you a hint on where to go and what you need to do. It doesn't hold your hand, but it also doesn't leave you too much in the dark, still leaving enough room for you to explore and try things out. You definitely can't just cut through if you already know how to figure it out until you have the prompt, or being allowed to because you already spoke to a character, specific ones. Which kind of sucks if you already played the episode and just want to speedrun as fast as you can. At least in my opinion. That leads to some of the not so great about Dexter Stardust. I feel this is probably my small rant, but I kind of wish the game is a bit longer. It's either that I don't play much of this kind of games and it's purely my subjective comment, but it's just so quick. Story-wise, it feels quick. I mean, you have one episode where it's pure puzzles in between these 2 very story-driven episodes. Luckily, it doesn't break the story as much as I make it sound to be, but it gives a neat whiplash as you try to plow through this single episode and just get stuck. And that's also another gripe I kind of have, where this one episode just suddenly spikes the difficulty a bit. You do still get the hints in a very interesting way, I must say, but for me at least, it really just breaks the flow of the game. It does feel like somehow they only put one episode or a level where it's just pure puzzle, without anything going for the sake of it, when the rest of the episode lean quite heavily on the story. There's also the fact that the story just stops. It does tease you with them showing off the antagonist and the greater plot of the story, but that's it. Again, story-wise, it feels very short and the payoff doesn't hit as much as I hoped for. I think if they spread out the story better, it'll probably fix it, I imagine so. But at the same time, I can't say for certain how much. It's not that it's a bad thing. They're doing an episodic or seasonal thing. Making stories is really hard work, especially this much comfy and feel. But I do think maybe if the story is around 6 to 8 episodes, it'll leave some room to breathe and probably do even more background to the characters and tell the backstory far better. Because as it is right now, it feels more like a pilot for a game than a full game for me. Kind of like if you see a show on Netflix or, things like that, and the first season of it is just an experiment and an audience test for when the series is run on the telly. Again, all of these gripes I have are purely subjective and something that I just don't like personally. All in all, I feel like the game is awesome. I love how campy and simple the premise is. The puzzles are quite fun, and I love the characters. I 100% can't wait for the story to continue and see what kind of adventure Dexter Stardust is gonna get into. If you're interested in this game as well, the game will be available on the 3rd of March on the PC and macOS via Steam, and the 9th on the Switch. Don't forget to also follow the devs' Twitters. Links are all going to be in the description. And with that, I shall leave you with this awesome loot. Until next time, I'm Vincent Vogel, your local half-elven VTuber, and I'll see you in the next one.